Good morning. Hey, it's Stacy, and we are walking in my shoes, loving my veteran. Um, last week we spent an entire week talking about PTSD from the veteran's eyes, and today we're going to switch it up all this week, and we're going to talk about PTSD from the caregiver's perspective, from our eyes. From caregiver's not my favorite word, so you kind of have to um, understand from the spouse's eyes. So that's kind of where we're going to be this morning. Everybody get your coffee, gather around. This should be interesting. And hopefully it will address some of the things that we feel as the spouse, the family, the loved one. Because what we're about here at Loving My Veteran is not just one perspective versus the other. We're talking about both sides. And I think that is important to understanding and moving forward in how we go forward to this is by understanding both sides of the coin. So today we're going to really talk about what it's like to be that spouse, family member, partner, and how we feel and how some of the actions of living with PTSD or someone who has PTSD, what that does for us. Um, Also often when we talk to families and we see these posts in the groups and the frustration and the anger, the one of the common threads seems to be my veteran said hurtful things to me today. um, my veteran put me my veteran said it's over. My veteran said he hates me. My veteran said called me names. um, the list goes on and on and on with hurtful things that kind of come out of the veteran's mouth when we feel like we're the ones who are giving and giving and giving and giving and doing. And so as this events kind of spiral and we hear all the negativity, we become negative and we become bitter. So for a few moments, let's just step out of the PTSD relationship. Sorry, y'all. Let's just step out of the PTSD relationship. Let's just talk about normal, normal, which is just such a weird thing for me, but let's talk about normal relationships. Um, and I don't care if it's a marital relationship. I don't care if it's a boss to an employee relationship. I don't care if it's how we act to our mothers and fathers sometimes or our children. How many times have we disagreed or got in an argument with somebody or somebody has said something to us, and in our mind we say, I am done. I am through. I am over this. He's arrogant. He's this. He's that. We say that in our minds, right? I mean, we've worked on a project and we've worked on a project at work, and all of a sudden our boss comes in and says, you're just not doing that right. This isn't acceptable. You need to do this. This is not quite what I wanted. Or you've done a good job on this project. And by the way, I need this by the end of the day. And you're in the middle of a project they asked you to do, and now you need something else. And so when they walk out of the room, you're like, or when you walk out of their office, and you're mad, right? And so you say things in your head about your boss and you're like, I can't believe he just did this, he's such a prick, or whatever the term is that's in there. I'm going to find a new job, I'm leaving, I'm done. We say that in our mind. Well, what we don't understand in a PTSD relationship is that when that PTSD moment is kicked in, that filter's gone. Okay, so we can get into it with our spouse and in our minds go, God, I'm over this. I'm done. I'm through. Why am I still married? Why am I still in this relationship? We all think that it's normal. It happens everywhere. The difference is when they have PTSD, they don't have that filter to shut it off in the middle of that PTSD moment. So the things that we are thinking in our head is coming out of their mouth. So just take that, and so we look at it as mental abuse, and I know that when you read through the groups, they're going on and on about it, and you either get two answers. You either get don't take it personal or leave. Nobody deserves this. Don't take it personal or leave. Nobody deserves this. It is a flaw. It is something that most of the time can't be controlled. The hardest part of all of this is understanding what's relationship and what's PTSD. And we blend these lines, and the veteran blends these lines, and they become excuses and they become crutches. So we have to learn to develop in our minds and create the boundaries that are so important moving forward. Well, how do you do that? I mean, how do you do that? When I first realized that I knew nothing, and I thought I knew a lot about PTSD, but when I realized I knew nothing, I went online and I started Googling it, I started researching it, I got in support groups, um, just to kind of get a feel for where we were. And the reality is there's not a lot of stuff out there. There's not a lot of good advice. There's not a lot of positive outcomes. The image is portrayed that people with PTSD are monsters. The image is portrayed that we are being abused. The image is portrayed that no good relationship will ever come out of this. So all this negative crap comes into our heads, and so we fuel off of that. And I'm not saying that these relationships are a walk in the park, because they're not, but understanding how they all go together makes a difference. So when all these abusive words come out to us, how do you think we feel? We feel depressed, we feel hurt, we feel resentment, we feel anger. And those are all things we should feel. Those are all things that hurt. They're hurtful. My great grandmother used to say, your words are like a tube of toothpaste. Once you squirt it out, it can't be sucked back in. So, where we may have the restraint not to say these things, and they don't, the hurtful words come out. And so we hear them over and over and over again. And that's where a lot of times you get secondary PTSD in these relationships, because we've heard it so much. Now, for Carl and I, it's a lot different because both of us have. So there are times that neither one of us have a filter. And when neither one of us have a filter at the same time, it is never a good situation, ever a good situation, because he just says things without that filter that he's thinking, and then I say things without the filter, and then it becomes this pushing back and forth, and it's never a good situation. But it's hard. I mean, let's be realistic. It is hard to hear, well, my life would be better off without you. You're a nag. I can never do anything right. You cooked the wrong meal today. I'm tired of this. I want a divorce. I want out. The kids are brats. You've done this. You're not doing enough. It's hard to hear. That's what we hear. That's what we live with. And I don't think sometimes that the veteran realizes what they're saying is hurtful. I don't think sometimes the veteran gets what they say is hurtful. And then we get the impression that it's spiteful. Well, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they say those things and they don't realize at the moment that they're hurtful, because in their mind, it's just coming out what their filter doesn't stop. And they're angry. And in a way, hmm, this is going to blow your mind. But in a way, it is almost effective communication because you know what they're thinking. Where we don't, and we don't get it out, and we don't say what we mean, and we bottle it up inside, and then it becomes like this big, festering, ugly zit that needs to be popped. And that's what happens in quote normal relationships. That big, festering, ugly zit just keeps growing and growing, and our resentment and our anger grows and grows and grows, and then it pops and it explodes, and then you're into World War III. Now I was talking to Michelle this morning, and I think about the restraint, the being mentally having some restraint. Let me tell you, there are days that I do not have good restraint. I have thrown a dozen eggs across the room. I have thrown a paper or two on the floor. I have thrown things at people just because it's all bottled up inside. And part of that really is the explosion that I have due to my own trauma, PTSD issues. Also, often I see and I hear he's trashed the house. They've put a hole through the wall. They've slammed something down. The anger and the rage and the fear comes out. But how often do we think about that in our own head? That we would just like to throw everything out of anger and rage off of the counter or throw all the pictures on the wall. But then we think about, oh, somebody got to clean that mess up. And that's the difference in that little bit of restraint. And so it becomes, what about me? Well, yeah, what about us? I'm sorry. I hate that you bring these memories home. It hurts me. It breaks my heart to see you that way. What are you doing to me? What happens to me along? Who's there for me? Who's there to tell me I'm good? Because when you're told negativity over, 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 you believe it. I battled with weight for a very long time. I was always the fat. It was hard. It was hard for me to understand, but that's who I became. And then through the course of a few years, I've lost 180 pounds. But in the mirror and in my mind, I still see the size 24 woman. I'm on the six. But on the charts, I'm still obese, overweight. It just freaking amazes me. So in my mind, I believe that I'm that person. So when you hear this negativity over and over and over and over again, you believe that you believe and buy into that negativity. You believe it. That's what you've been told. It doesn't matter the circumstances, how you were told. You were told. So you buy into it and you believe it. And then you start questioning yourself. What did I do? Am I wrong? I really do hate him. Can't stay married. He says our marriage isn't worth a damn, so why am I going to bother to stay married? Why should I try if he doesn't try? Why should I be the only one who gives? And that's how we feel. They don't, the veteran with the PTSD doesn't understand. That's the reality of how we feel. How hard is it to explain to your 6-year-old or your 12-year-old that dad's having an explosion today because of something he brought home from a long time ago, and it has nothing to do with you, when dad is screaming, get out, you're driving me crazy, I wish you weren't here. How does that make you feel? How does that make us feel? Hard. There's nothing about this journey that is incredibly easy, but it's a journey worth taking. when we understand how all the pieces fall in together, we get it. When we understand that most of the time what they're saying isn't personal, but that doesn't make you feel better because it is personal. Because we take it personally. Just like when the boss comes in and says your project wasn't good enough, or your project's great, but I need you to do more. Or, how often do are we told that this is good, but I need you to do more? Not good enough. And that's the mentality that we end up with because we've been told it so much that we feel we're not good enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm packing up and I'm leaving. And we do. Sometimes it happens. But more often than not, the spouse comes back. Why? Because we're gluttons for punishment? No, because we love them in our core. Because deep inside, there is a love that is far greater than the PTSD. And I'm here to tell you, I hate PTSD. I hate it. I hate what it does to my veteran. I hate watching the tears roll down his face and he tries to hide it and he wipes them off and he fights back the tears. I hate it. I hate what it does to me. I hate when the hurtful words come out and I have to go somewhere and cry by myself. I hate it. But I've learned I don't hate him. I hate PTSD. I hate what it's done to us. I hate what it's done to so many others. I hate what it's done to the veteran who thinks he's got to take his life because he doesn't matter. I hate it for the spouse that sits there and is handed the flag. I hate it for the spouses who take their own lives because they can't deal with it anymore. I hate PTSD for the broken homes that it's given us. I had to learn to redirect my hate and my anger. Does Carl do things that make me mad that are not PTSD related? Yep. Do I do things that make him mad? And he's mad and it has nothing to do with his PTSD? Yep. The constant turmoil we live in at times. Some days it just feels like you can't get a break. And some days everything is going smooth and it's gone smooth for days and days and days. And it's hard to enjoy the smoothness because in your mind, you know that the shoe's going to drop eventually. It's hard to look at the good moments because you're always anticipating the next bad moment. That's what we see. That's the pain we feel. That's the heartache we have to deal with. All the way down to, oh, we're going to go to a family event today. Great. You're going to have a moment. We're going to go have dinner with friends. Ooh, is a moment going to happen? We're going to go over somebody's house. And what is it if he doesn't get the seat with his back to the wall and his face to the door? Those are what we do every day. Those are the moments we face every day. Those are the tears that we cry inside every single day. That's our reality. That's our reality. And then we watch. And we watch the events of the world unfold, and we watch it put our veteran deeper and deeper and deeper into another place that they don't necessarily want to come out of. And they have no control over that. How do we deal with that? If I had some magic wand where I could erase it all and make it go away and have the Carl 24/7 at the good moments like we have so many of, it'd be amazing. But we don't always have good moments. And we don't always have those in our lives. And you don't always have them in yours. And our veteran doesn't see sometimes what their action does to us. How your PTSD affects us. You may be the one who has it, but we're all dealing with the side effects. We all deal with it. We have people who don't understand it in our lives. So it's not like I can pick up the phone and call my girlfriend and say, hey, guess what's happened today? He had a moment and the picture frame's on the ground. Or he's had a moment and there was rage involved. Because you know what's going to happen? They're going to say, leave. They're going to say, get out. They don't understand. They see what the whole world has been sold on this bag of goods for people who have PTSD, that they're the ones who take the guns and go and shoot up the post office. Or they're the ones who take the guns and shoot up the school. But that's not them 90% of the time. But how do you call somebody and say, I need to vent when the person you're venting to doesn't get it? So for us, there's isolation. For us, there's loneliness. For us, there's a whole different kind of pain. The veteran doesn't see that. He doesn't see that we can't pick up the phone and make the phone call. Because what happens when we do is it becomes this paranoid sense of, who are you telling today? You know, am I going to have the police come out today because, sorry, am I going to have the police come out today because I blew up? Because in a rational world, that kind of yelling and screaming and stuff that goes on, we see it all the time. People get arrested for it, they go to jail for it, they do whatever. And they don't want to be seen in a negative light. So when we call our girlfriends or we call our support structure, they're like, they want to hear it, they want to be part of it because they don't want these negative aspects of them reflected to others. So what do? We feel alone. We feel isolated. And now what? Now where do we go? We go to support groups. That's what I did. I did my first little thing about him having a moment. And the very first response I got was, leave. Leave. So for those of you who don't know my story, um, I was married for 28 years. And I decided after 28 years that I needed to get divorced. It wasn't healthy. I needed someone who truly loved me for every bit of me. And I met Carl. And he does that. He loves me for me. I don't have to change. I don't have to be someone I'm not. He loves me for me. So when I'm typing into the support group, look, I need some understanding. I need some guidance. I need somebody to give me some direction. And the very first responses I get are leave. I'm thinking, ooh, that's not really positive support here. I want somebody to tell me I go through it too. I understand. I get it. Somebody I can vent to. Somebody that I can say, Hey, look, we're in this spot today. And they're like, yeah, I get it. Been there, done that. But we've walked through to the other side. And it's not always that way all the time. I want somebody that I can call and talk to and say, we've had a great day today. And they celebrate those victories with you. That's what I need. And I think that's what a lot of us need. We need that positive support who gets where we're at. We need that. It's important that we find that because living with somebody who has PTSD and loving somebody so deeply that has PTSD leaves you lonely. Carla and I are together 24/7 and have been since January. Other than when one of us runs to the store, for the most part, we're always together. And it's amazing how lonely I can feel at times. And the same can be said for him. Because what he's going through at times in his head, he can only say to somebody else who's been there. What I'm going through, I can only say to somebody else who's been. And that's why it's so important that we learn to share our stories, that we learn to reach out to each other, that we learn to embrace each other, that we learn to uplift each other. We're stronger than we think. And yeah, it hurts. And yeah, there are moments that are very painful. There are also moments that are amazing. And right now, I'm not willing to trade one moment of amazing. We'll work through the rest of it. We're going to get through the rest of it. The only way we do this is by sharing. We share with each other. As a community, we share our experiences. As human beings, we empower each other. That's what we do. Tomorrow, we're really going to talk more about the emotional side. What does it do? How do we get trapped into a role? How do we get out of the role that we're trapped in? Because as the spouse and the partner of someone with PTSD, we wear multiple hats. But everybody wears multiple hats. We just have a few more. And we need to learn not to be trapped in a role. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes. And together we are loving my veteran. We are a community. We are here to reach out and empower and uplift each other. That's what we do. This will be posted to our YouTube channel along with some of the other videos we've done. New videos are coming out daily today. Um, I'll also have it posted to the group and permanently linked here. Visit our website. It is changing and new information is coming on daily. Um, we have a Walking in My Shoes and Dust Off blogs that'll also be there. You can also follow my Walking in My Shoes blog as well. Again, cannot tell you enough how important it is that we are a community. I cannot tell you again how much all of you mean to all of us here at Loving My Veteran. Don't forget on Thursday night, we do Let's Talk. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a Zoom meeting for support. I have been asked about doing some other times, and I am very open. So send us a message, an email um, about some other Zoom meetings. If you guys need anybody out there needs some one-on-one, we are available. We can set it up through Zoom or phone or email or whatever you need. But just remember, we are a community. We love our veterans. And to all of us, you're not a number, you're a name, and your life matters. And you're very important to all of us. Have a blessed day. See you tomorrow. Bye.